Normally, our parents sent us to school. I give reverence to my own parents for helping me get to where I am. I thank them. I thank God for, giving me those parents. I wouldn't change them for anything. And I'm sure same with you guys here. However, there is something I think our parents miss, which you would connect to. It is that they pray for us a lot, correct? They do pray for us, don't they? Anyone agree here? Our parents do pray for us, right? Good. Now, when they pray for us, do you also agree that one of their priority prayers is that we be better than them, right? So they make all these sacrifices, send us to school, we finish schooling, we're doing NYSC, coming out, to show what we've learned and what we know and all of that, right? But the problem we are seeing is that because of taboos, because of cultural beliefs and standings and opinions, it's a taboo to correct your elder. Anyone relate to that? If an elderly person is doing something wrong, and you as a youngster is saying, sir, that thing, I think it's better if we do it this way. We all know what happens, generally speaking. We all know what happens. They shut you down. And the saying is usually that no matter how many clothes you have, it's a proverb, you can never have as many rags as they have. In other words, no matter how exposed you are, you can't be wiser than them. But factually, that may be far from the truth. Because if we go by their prayers to God, that we should be better than them, it's only normal for them to accept and think and expect that we will start demonstrating that we are better than them. Which means God is answering their prayers. So in other words, they should give us what? Listening ears and be patient to understand some of the things we understand and are operating by. Correct? For example, some of our parents are not technology savvy, right? Yet they need it in some way or the other. Many of us know how to use Facebook, FaceTime, iPhone, all those things, right? I'm sure some of you here have parents who are using iPhone 13, and the only thing they do with that phone is just to make calls and send text messages. And even the text messages, they will call you or your brother to come and help them send the text. True or false? Now, the point I'm making is, our parents, please, we beg you, allow your prayers for us to manifest. God is answering your prayers. You sacrifice all these things. We go to school, we are exposed to all of these things. It's not by accident. We are not trying to topple you. It's your prayers that are being, what? I can hear you. It's your prayers that are being answered. It's your prayers that are being answered because somehow God has shown us things that you otherwise didn't see. And together, we can make things work better. In Yoruba, there is an adage that says that, I'm just going to translate it in English. It says that a child cannot reach a top shelf. And an adult, I don't know, does anyone here know about the gourd? That local jug they used to pour wine. It sometimes doubles as a safe where they put something, right? So they say that an adult's fingers cannot enter inside the gourd to pick out anything. It's only children's fingers that can enter and pick out stuff. Now, whilst the adult needs to get something from inside the gourd, the child needs something from the shelf. Because the adult is taller, isn't it? At the end of the day, if they work together, the adult can get what's inside the gourd with the help of the child, and the child can get what is on the shelf with the help of the adult. Unfortunately, I feel this is a major part of Nigeria's problem today. It is why there is a disconnect of the youth. It is why we don't have many of us at the helms of affairs or, being pushed to the ends of the affairs to showcase what we do, to take the bulls by the horns and to help develop this country. I know this is now touching on youth and leadership, youth development and all that, but again, it still stems from taboos and stigma. Nobody knows it all, and we need to work together, whether you are the adult or the child. We need to work together, and I implore our parents. There's a song we used to sing then, if any one of you remember. It said, "Parents, listen to your children. We are the leaders of tomorrow. Try to pay our school fees and give us sound education." Sound education is not limited to going to school. It's also important in how you relate and deal with your child. So because it's a taboo to, correct your elders or talk back to them, otherwise you'll be seen as rude, the unfortunate result of that is that many of us are not confident. We are not confident in our knowledge. We are not confident in our delivery. We are not, and all of these affects our competence. All of this affects competence. And then it's a vicious cycle. Because then, if you are not confident about what you know and then your output, then the problem will be that you are more likely not to participate or to avoid participating because you don't want to be shut down. That in itself could lead to a mental health issue, because there are so many different types of mental health issues that manifest in so many different ways. And this is just what I have to add to what Arome has to say. Anybody has any questions at this juncture? Are we really doing that well? You really understand it? Thank you. Please, microphone to the gentleman behind there. Hello? Who is it? To give the microphone to the person behind there.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, my fellow couple.
Hello,
good afternoon, Mr. Arome. Yeah, I noticed you spoke more and you laid more emphasis on stigma and the various ways we could overcome stigma. But I want to ask you a direct question. Now, you spoke more of environmental, societal, marital, and families. Now the question goes, how will you classify the taboos done by our leaders and the mental health and psychological effect done down to the followers? And also, ways of making their wrongs right once again. Thank you.
Please, hello. Repeat the first question again.
My question goes like this. How will you classify the taboos done by our leaders and the mental and psychological effect done down to the followers? And how will you prescribe solution for their wrongs to be right again?
Thank you very much. How, if I should get you clearly, how do I classify the what? The taboos caused by our leaders, right? Well, we have conglomerates of leaders from different backgrounds. And I would not say that their behavior today is being initiated or perpetuated because they came from a corrupt culture. All right? What's happening today is personal, and looking at the religious side of it, when you are being led by some certain people who are who are religiously biased, and people who have their personal agenda, and they are at the helm of affairs. There's nothing much that you can do, but we are very aware of the mental ill health that people are going through because of their behavior today. So my advice, if I should advise, my advice will go to the populace that are being ruled by these people. My advice is for you to create a better place for yourself in your mind, in your mentality. Try to devise means that you can cope with probably the excesses. And if you have to include religion to it, my advice is that you put it in prayer. All right? I just pray, and then, because prayer is a very good, listen to me very carefully. Prayer, no matter the religion, is a very good recipe. Listen, don't clap yet. Prayer is a very good therapy for mental health. Listen, because if you believe and you pray, many issues in your mind will have been resolved. Because what we are dealing with this morning, religion is part of it. Are you getting me now? So if you are in a religion that you believe your prayers, when you pray, it has a calming effect to your mental well-being. But as my advice to the leaders today is for them to come out of their extremism. Their extremism, do I say cultural extremism or religious extremism? They should come out of it and learn to understand the plight of the people and help to reduce the cause of mental health issues that we have today in the country. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Arme. Any other questions?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Okpanashi Amadi. My question goes like this. You explained concerning stigmatization. The stigma has to do with people having negative thoughts about something that is strange to them that you are actually doing. Now, you now made us to understand that when you are stigmatized, you need to come out openly to educate people. I want to know what are the taboos? What are the things? Because from my own culture, I'm an Igala by tribe. Let me say from my family, I come from a family whereby if you barb, you barb part of your hair, then you leave part of your hair. In my family, we see it as something that is not supposed to be. Likewise, when you wear a trouser, for instance, you sag, we see it as something that is very, very bad, that is not expected of you to do. Now, you as a child, you engage in this kind of attitude. And to you, maybe you are comfortable with the way you are living your life. How do you come out? And on a norm, to them, is a bad thing. It's something that you are not expected to do. Should you come out to start educating them that, this thing I'm doing is right? And I don't know whether you get the question, you get where I'm going. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much. I like that question. Now, let me tell you something. The part of educating people or convincing people to give them reasons why or reasons behind your action is to checkmate yourself if what you're actually doing is presentable. Is to create a check and balance on your attitude and behavior. Now, if you cannot educate people or you are not bold enough to come out to tell people about what you're doing, right or wrong, then it means that what you're doing is wrong. Educating people simply means bringing people together to tell them about the good side of it and how you are enjoying it and whether they can buy the advice or not. For instance, maybe you enjoy promiscuity, you enjoy extramarital relationships, you enjoy adultery, sleeping with people's wife. Are you getting me now? And you are being stigmatized. Can you come out boldly and educate people on that? Is it possible? Now, if you have the boldness to come out and educate people, then you must have a reason why you are doing it and how good it is for you. Now, if you don't have that boldness and you have seen it that is within you is socially unacceptable, culturally unacceptable, then you don't have to do it. So the reason why you have to educate people is to create a check and balance on your own self, on your own conscience. If your conscience approves it or not, and if your conscience approves it, do you have the boldness to come out and educate people on it? If you don't have the boldness to do that, you will be suffering mental health issues because you will be rejected from the society, you will not be associated with, and the stigma on you will make you to hide and make you to withdraw from the society. At that point, are you not suffering mental health issue already? So, when you barb this foul hairstyle, I don't know what they call it, all right? And then you come out and everybody in your family is saying, why do you do this, why do you do that? Do you have the boldness to educate them? If you don't have the boldness, then go and cut it off. Because you can't check, you are already on your way to have a mental health issue. All right, so education there is you're trying to check yourself if you are right, if your conscience buys it or not. Have I answered your question? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we move on, okay, there's another question there. Just hold 1 minute. I just want to acknowledge Comrade Bala. Can you, round of applause for Comrade Bala. Comrade Bala would introduce himself in a bit, but before then, we'll take that question and then we'll have Mrs. Onazi speak to us from the point of view of the media. She's the Director of Northern Operations for DAR Communications. So, question please, after which we go to Ms. Ogazi.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm grateful, sir. While you were speaking earlier, you made mention or you emphasized on knowledge. Now, knowledge stems from information. And the psychologist, you emphasized on education. And we all know that education comes from different avenues, especially the media. You cited an example with the just concluded BB Niger about how a married woman slept with someone in the house. So now, psychologically speaking, what is your professional advice on judging from the ethics of the environment in which we live and the culture that we practice, that fidelity, we always encourage fidelity in marriage. What would you say, especially that this stuff was done in the social media or on the air, thereby educating people or giving people wrong information about something this vital? Is that not in a way affecting the mental or psychological health of upcoming people, especially ladies, because we have an ideology of school na scam. It came from somewhere. And now some youths do not want to go to school again because of that saying. So now, this was published in the media, and everyone is exposed to that. What would you advise professionally people? What would you advise people who are coming up on that stuff that happened? Thank you.
Thank you. Before I answer your question, I would like to do a disclaimer. I am not in support of that, all right? And no culturally concerned person will be in support of that. So my advice to the upcoming youth or the generations we're having, or even the next BB Niger housemates, is that we are sure that everybody have their opinion, their self-opinion, and this whole world is subjective, and everybody have their own perspective, their own thinking, their own upbringing. My advice is that if you are married, whether you like it or not, that man has already stained mentality or stained, programmed mental health already, whether we like it or not, whether he likes it or not, all right? He's not really very happy, okay? So, my advice is, when you are married, stay put to your marriage and put your culture in a way that is not much in control of you and you are not being controlled by it. In other words, you must learn to stay with the fact that you are from a background, and the background is not even the issue, is that what is not wrong, what is not right is not right, and what is not right is not right, and what is wrong is wrong. Are you getting me now? As an upcoming youth, fidelity is very, very important. When you see such things in the social media, doesn't mean it's acceptable. All right? It doesn't mean it's acceptable. Going outside your marriage to have extra marital relationship, no matter what the show, no matter what it is, no matter what you're trying to prove, no matter what you're trying to say, is outrightly wrong. Outrightly wrong, and is devilish and shouldn't be associated with. Are you getting me now? Whatever the case is, he must have done something to appease his own self, and whatever he's doing, we don't know in secret, but the truth is, what is wrong is wrong. Don't practice extramarital relationship. Please, upcoming youth, take note of this. Whether culturally right or culturally wrong, whatever is wrong is wrong. Thank you very much.
Okay. To add to that, you referred to my mentioning knowledge before what he said about his delivery. I think with knowledge, you need to start with yourself. It's very important to start with yourself. What do you know about yourself? Do you know your limitations? You've got to know your limitations, know your strengths, and know your weaknesses. If you know that, your understanding, navigating your environment will be enhanced. And in other words, it will be easier for you, to make decisions, to live with decisions, and to carry out whatever it is you need to carry out. Now, speaking about Big Brother, there are two things I noted about it. Number one is that it's a social experiment. However you look at it, it is an experiment, because there is really nothing educating about it other than how would human beings fare when you dump them in an enclosure for a long period of time with only certain restrictions, and then you cultivate them. In other words, you direct them to do certain things at certain times. It's an experiment, and you are all seeing the results of it. That's one. Number two is that the winner was what? Was it 90 million naira? About something like that, as we hear it in the news. Where do you think that money came from? Anyone? Any ideas where the money to fund Big Brother comes from or came from? Buddy? Sorry? Okay, so they have sponsors. Those sponsors, do you know any that is foreign? Do you know any of BB's sponsors that are foreign? No. Now, they are indigenous sponsors, which means they are you and me. They are our uncles, our fathers, our brothers, our cousins that are sponsoring this social experiment to the tune of 90 million naira for the winner, which means there is a whole lot more money pumped into Big Brother Naija. Now, many of these people we've just mentioned are married, correct? They are married. They have wives or a wife. Some of them are looking to get married and all of that. It seems to me something like a Hunger Game type of thing. And all of us here, I didn't watch it and I didn't subscribe. With all due respect, it's got nothing, I don't have anything against whatever it is they are doing. But for all of you that bought airtime, credit, voted, all these things, spending your money, you are all sponsors of the same thing you seem to be complaining about. Does that make sense to you now? You are all sponsors of what you are complaining about. And this is why we chose to break down this understanding of taboos, because let's be honest, if you don't subscribe to something, we're all tolerating it. We'll pay for it and then come and complain. Why are you complaining if you will pay for it? I bet you one thing, if nobody watches Big Brother anymore, no one is voting, nothing is happening, I guarantee you there will be no such thing as Big Brother ever again in Nigeria. I'm not campaigning negatively against them. Let me put out that disclaimer there, but it's just to try and help you understand the question you are asking, at this forum, which then still goes down to knowledge. You need to know yourself, and knowing yourself requires understanding. You need to have an understanding of how you can relate to your environment. First of all, how you operate, and then how you can relate to your environment. That's important across the board. I hope that helps. And with that, I'll just go to Mrs. Ogazi from Dark Communication. Put a round of applause for her, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to have another, can we settle down a bit on the left? There seems to be some collation of data or something going on, which is a bit of a taboo. When a program is going on and you cause some distraction, it's a bit of a taboo. There's something called decorum, which we can maintain for a bit. Okay, so once again, good afternoon. My name is Oji Onazi. Like he rightly said, I'm from the media world. And I'm glad that he has made some points that I would want to take off from. One of them is the issue of Big Brother Naija. I watched it. most probably from the beginning right till the end. There are a couple of things involved in it. One, it depends on your perspective. When you're watching it, where are you watching it from? What are the things you want to see when you watch it? It says something about me coming from a background of the media. Big Brother Naija cost 4.3 billion to host. They employed 12,000 workers for the period of the 3 months that it was on air. What perspective were you watching it from? For some of us in the media, we watch because of the adverts that run, because of the production of that advert, you want to see it. Two, you can watch it from the perspective of the morals being shown on the show. You can watch it if you're looking at the economic value of BB Naija to the society. In the past 3 months, some 12,000 families have been fed. Perspective is key to helping you deal with taboo and stigma. Those that went in as housemates in BB Naija, are they celebrities today or not? Are they stars today or not? Perspective is how we view them. The winner of BB Naija, White Money, people want to relate with him. Why? Because he is what? A winner. And everybody wants to associate with success, regardless of where he's coming from or how he made that money. But if you put him on a scale of preference with Boma and Tega and White Money on one side, I'm sure a lot of us will go towards White Money. But they are all products of the same house. Perspective. For you to go into BB Naija, I'll come to the second point that has been made. You need to know yourself. There are lessons to learn from watching BB Naija. And I'll assure you of one thing. It's easy for us on the outside to criticize those on the inside. You're all here, I'm sure you're holding your phones. If your phone is missing from you now, in the world that we live in, if your phone is missing for an hour, you most probably will exhibit some mental illness. 2-3 days ago, social media kind of shut down for some 6 hours. People almost went crazy. Dependability. But those that were in BB Naija house for 3 months didn't see phone. In fact, not 3 months, for 4 months. Because a month before they went into the house, they were isolated, just to be sure that they're COVID-free. Then secondly, that's when the withdrawal system started. Their phones were taken from them. They couldn't connect with family or friends. So that isolation period started before they even went to the house. There are lessons to be learned from BB Naija, but it's your perspective. So the key points that he made is knowing yourself. And I was talking about us being on the outside and criticizing them on the inside. If you are made to stay in this hall till 6 p.m. without going out, some of us will exhibit some mental illness. Already we've been here for 3 hours. Some people can't seem to sit still. They've gone in, they've gone out, they've just been moving around. So you can imagine if you are told now, as a matter of order and restriction, that you do not move from your seat for the next 6 hours, how fidgety we will get. But I want to address us briefly on the individual level before we dovetail into the marriage setting. I want the ladies here to give themselves a round of applause. Equally, if you're male and you're here, please clap for yourself. Something phenomenal is happening, and we're all witnessing it. If you look around the hall now, we see a lot of females, graduates, coming for service. 20 years ago, it may not have been. Ladies are breaking the ceiling. We're reducing the taboo of female not being able to go to school or achieving a lot in their careers. And on a daily basis, the taboo that says if you're married and you have girls and you don't have boys is being broken. I see fathers acknowledging the fact that if you don't have a girl as one of your children, you are in trouble. Because when the man marries, he faces his family most times. But when the women marry, somehow, some 40% of them is still tied to their parents. If you don't know yourself, it becomes easy for you to fall into the taboo or the stigma level. And the reason why some of that happens is because in life, as we're growing up, mistakes we make as individuals, as young people, I'm sure even some of you sitting here now, there are some things you've done that you've regretted and wish you hadn't done. And that's for your age. I have the same regret sometimes. At 58, I say to myself, I wish I had done this in my 20s. I wish I had done this in my 30s, even 40s, even 50s. But there are things that happen around us in the society that puts you at that level of breaking a taboo or breaking a stigma. Mental wellness is something that has been with us for a long time. And aside knowing yourself, the other thing that cures you of taboos and stigmas is to love yourself for who you are. A can never be B. A can learn some things about B and adapt to make life what you think it should be for you. Which means that from a very young age, one thing you need to do is to set realistic goals. We see the young ones going into Yahoo, which is I don't think it's raining so much anymore, but it's there. But because we have not set realistic goals for ourselves, what do we see these days? Many young people being caught for drug smuggling. As I'm talking to you now, even today, some will still be caught. Yesterday, some were caught. What's pushing them to it? Unrealistic goals. Nobody is willing to walk according to how your own destiny has been set for you. You're just looking at making fast money, quick money, becoming rich, being a guy about town or a lady that has it all, and you're ready to push those drugs. Now, when those goals are not realistic and they're not being met, that's when depression starts to come in. You lose confidence as an individual. Envy comes in, and that's why we see people readily killing brothers, sisters, neighbors because of envy. Practically committing the same taboo and stigma that we're talking about. Now, the way you express your regrets tells a lot about how much you know yourself. A lot of us dwell on the negative side of things, and that gradually affects you. When you see somebody who is very outgoing, somebody who is very exciting, all of a sudden withdrawing to himself or herself, something is definitely happening. Something is definitely happening. At a younger age, I think sometime when I was about 30 or so, I had some health issues that saw me bloating. Whether I ate or didn't eat, I was just going big. I got so big up to a size 24. And I experienced mental wellness long time ago because I realized that I wasn't happy with the way I was looking. I started pulling back from friends, from going out, from socializing, and it led me to doing things that I normally would not do, just staying home, a very idle mind, who was almost getting corrupt. But the 360 came round when I looked at myself and I said, no, this is not me. I'm too young to live this kind of life. And I broke free. I broke free because I said to myself, I am far more than this, than what I am looking at in the mirror. And I set a time frame for myself to lose that weight, to love myself better, and to do a whole lot better. And here I am today. If I had allowed that to get to me, I most probably wouldn't be here. So the way we express what we feel, the regret, matters. Are you more on the negative side or the positive side? Do you motivate yourself with positive words or negative words? There's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt who says, she's the wife of one of the presidents of the US. She says, no one can make you inferior except you let them. No one can make you feel less than what you are except you let them. You have to know yourself. You have to be in control. That's the only way that your mental wellness will be in place. Now, when we talk about taboos and stigmas, and then we tie it to marriages, a lot happens. These days, there's a preponderance of cross-cultural marriage. I'm from the north. My guy, like I call him, is from the Yoruba land. It's a journey. But even as an individual, I know when he came home to say, I wanted to do this, the first question my dad asked him was, can you cope? Because this girl from childhood, a very independent person, she says her mind, she speaks it, and she's a very ambitious person. Can you cope? And he says he will manage. That manage we're managing till today, which is basically what marriage is. It's a management of relations, of relationships. Relation between you and your spouse, relationship between his family and your family. And I think that taboos and stigmas even show up more in marriages. Because when you have a northern person marry an Igbo person or an Igbo person marry a Western person, there are things in Yoruba land that Igbo man may not really understand. There are things that the Hausa man would want his wife to do that the Igbo girl may not be able to do. So as you're managing your relationships, you're also managing the relationships between the two families. You have to first learn what is taboo and what is stigma on both sides. But then between you, who is in the marriage, there are some things that you want to answer. There are some things that is okay for you. My friends would come to the house sometimes, and when Oga eats, he would carry his tray to the kitchen and drop, and they're like, eh? And I'm like, yes, for us it's not a problem. Me, I can sleep till 9 o'clock a.m., 10 sometimes. He will do breakfast. It's for us. If you decide to go outside and say, those people, she has turned her husband to houseboy, it's good for you. But if there's one thing my mom also taught me is the fact that my marriage is my marriage, your marriage is your marriage. How you build your home is yours. I built mine because I went through my own experiences, and it will never be the same with you. So we're here now as individuals. I see some young ladies carrying kids, which means you have moved to the level of the marriage. Whatever it is that is happening within the marriage is something that both of you need to agree after knowing yourselves. When you know yourselves individually, you come to know yourself as partners. And then you work towards what anyone would label as taboo or what anyone would label as stigma. But it's a relationship between two of you. I had a choice of changing name, bearing a compound name, or bearing my father's name. And I bear my father's name because he understands. You've grown in your career. People know you for it. I won't take credit for it. Your dad had a major role to play. I know how close you are to him. So bear his name. Does it stop me from being his wife? No. Does it stop me from being mother of his kids? No. But it's an understanding. Of course, there was a lot of hue and cry, which is a taboo. Once they've married you, you must bear his name. Who said so? What is marriage? I'm not wearing a ring now. Does it stop me from being married? How many men wear their wedding bands? How many? Does it stop them from being married? So why is there so much pressure that it is the woman that has to carry the toga of married on her head? The way you conduct yourself, what you say, where you go, what you wear, the pressure is more on the woman. You don't do it, they say, she doesn't behave like a married woman. How is a married woman supposed to behave? Culture comes to play. Culture has set the standards for us. Environment sets the standards for us. So, depending on the background of where you come from, where you grew up, what you believe in, your ideals, it helps you in keeping taboos, stigma away. But there's a fundamental issue that should guide you in what you do, which is one key thing: morals. That's where, for me, it boils down to. So the issue of whether you're right or whether you're wrong boils down to morals. And morals have a certain standard in the society and environment that you operate. So to have a balance in your mental state, in your marriage, and to confirm to the society that you operate in, your morals come to play. And in that light, whether you like it or not, when we see a lady who is not properly dressed, the morals say to us, you're not properly dressed. or you're not dressed appropriately for your age or for this occasion. I'm sure all of us would take a second look. If anyone walks in here now with a very short skirt and a top that exposes half of her chest, we're all definitely going to turn around and say, what's going on? Where's she? Where does she think we are? Morals is a guiding factor to the taboo and stigma. During the pandemic, we saw a rise in suicides, which in our days of growing up as a young person, it was something hidden. Families won't talk about it. To commit suicide was a very big taboo. Religiously is there, culturally is there. I think in most cultures, when you commit suicide, they don't bury you or they don't touch you or things like that. Religious, we say, well, you didn't give life, so you don't have right to take it, so you go against your religion. But then whoever it is that has gotten to the point of having to commit suicide must have really gone through a phase in life. And when your morals about anything around you is questioned, then you're easily in a position to fall prey to taboo and stigma. And stigmas, I can tell you, can go on for a long time. Once you're stigmatized over an issue, whether it's you have HIV or they say, oh, these days now when you cough too much, they say, maybe it's COVID, everybody takes off. Stigma. Anything that does not conform to the morals of where you are operating happens to stigmatize you. And like my brother said, a little education and awareness helps us come and overcome stigma. To me, I think stigma is a more grave thing to deal with than even taboo. Because taboo comes from belief system. If you grow up believing that something is taboo, it's a matter of things around you happening to change your perspective about that thing. And knowledge and awareness about it can also change you. But stigma is a bit hard to shake off. So things that will stigmatize us in societies are things that we try to stay away from. And it all boils down to knowing yourself, knowing your ideals, setting realistic goals, and being more positive than negative in all that you do. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Nazi. I'll just add to a couple of things she mentioned. We said earlier that the basis of anything successful, really, is knowledge. Know yourself. Know your limits, know your weaknesses, know your strengths, and use that as a tool to navigate your environment. And perhaps your outcomes will be better than they currently are. Now, knowing yourself when it comes to marriages and the associated taboos with it, there is something for Christians. I would like to refer you to that part of the Bible that says, what? He who finds a wife does what? Finds a good thing and? You say? Come on, women. He's talking about you. He says what? Yeah. So he who finds a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. I'm not sure there is a corresponding verse in the Bible that speaks to men. But, however, for those who are Muslims, I know Quran chapter 4 says something that is kind of similar to what we've just heard. Is at verse 19, and there are 4 key elements in there. I'll mention 3 that are very relevant to what we are talking about. The first one is do not inherit women against their will. Inheritance there also includes marrying them. It means marrying them. You can't marry women against their will, right? The second bit is you need to treat them with what? Kindness and justice, equity. Kindness and justice, equity. And the third point, which is especially relevant, is that it says there that, and if ye dislike them, if you dislike your wife, it may be that you dislike something through which God will grant you a great deal of good. Am I correct? If I'm wrong, please correct me. Am I right, sister? I repeat, it says, if you dislike your wife, it may be that you dislike something through which God will bring you a great deal of good. Now, using those two, this is how I speak to my clients, because I deal with, conflicts as a mediator and also as a lawyer, issues of divorce and all of that. And trust me, as a mental health practitioner, believe me, there are many issues around family, marriages, divorce, and all of that, which causes mental health issues. This is what I say to them. So I asked the man, when you were marrying this woman, did you ever see her as the vehicle through which God will grant you a great deal of good, favor, and blessings? He sat down and looked at me like, I'm like, okay, let me repeat it. Did you ever look at your wife, or if you're already married, are you seeing your wife as the vehicle through which God will grant you favor, blessings, and a great deal of good? Because if you view your wife as that, or the person you are about to marry, if that is your view of that person, believe me, no one needs to tell you. You will protect that vehicle with everything you have. Am I correct? I'm not seeing any. Am I correct? Are you listening? Are you following? Because this is very important. Some of you probably are about to get married. Some of you will get married, in time. Some are already married. This is especially important. Then I turn to the ladies, and then I ask them, now, ladies, this is for you. Do you see this man worthy enough? Have you ever considered him worthy enough to receive the blessings, favor, and great deal of good from God through you? Let me repeat that, or let me rephrase that to make it clearer. Have you considered yourself as accepting to be that vehicle through which God would grant this man that you want to marry or that you are married to, through which God will grant him blessings, favor, and a great deal of good? Because if you consider yourself a vehicle to be used by God for this man, and he's worthy of it, you will act better as a wife. Am I correct? Our mothers. It's my humble analysis. It's what I use to help redirect people's thinking when it comes to marriages and all of these taboos. Now, if you think in that manner, you'll find that you are almost immune to the effects or the impact of ethnic or religious biases or taboos on your marriage, in which case your marriage will be more successful, of course, because it will be filled with the blessings of God, isn't it? And then your mental health will be stable. Now, we talk mental health. I'll just quickly mention some forms of mental health issues that people may not even see as mental health. I know we know about depression. Depression can happen. We know about bipolar, multiple personality disorders and all of that. There are anxiety disorders, and there are many different forms of anxiety disorders, one of which is body dysmorphia. Somebody not liking their body and being afraid and all of that. There are many branch outs from that, like bulimia, anorexia nervosa, where you don't want to eat because you don't want to be fat, or you eat too much and then you vomit what you eat. You make yourself vomit because you know you've eaten too much, you don't want to be fat, but So there are so many different types that we could go on and talk about. It's in Nigeria that I've heard someone being OCD saying it proudly like it's a medal. I'm not saying it's not a medal, but being OCD does not make you neat. It is an anxiety disorder for which you need to seek support if you can get it, right? Not to live with it as if, it's okay, because OCD can destroy your friendship, it can destroy your job, and it can destroy your relationship with anyone. So we need to start thinking differently in the way we behave. Having said that, I'm going to allow Comrade Bala talk to us briefly about, just his experiences around what we are talking about, before we then move to the Director of the Deputy Director of Social Welfare Services. Can someone please pass the mic to Comrade Bala? Okay, just before Comrade Bala, do you have any questions for this part? Not from Mrs. Onazi? Are you sure? She's going to be leaving soon. Okay. Any questions for me so far? Okay, so to Comrade Bala then. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
Members of the high table, permit me to remain on the standing protocols. I consider this as an ambush. Yeah, because what do you really want me to talk about?
The topic, sir.
Well, as a motivator, I heard what my elder sister over there, she mentioned something of which to me she's more gender sensitive when she mentioned the issue of females serving now, of which 20 years back, we don't have that population. Then I look around, I didn't see anybody with disability among them. And as a mother, and I believe a mother fights for all. Why is it that I'm the only one here? That's just that anyway. Well, it's been stated that it's only those that tend to forget history that are doomed to repeat it. And if it is only those that tend to forget history that are doomed to repeat, what about those that have no access to the history? What will they repeat? And that means they have to be teleguided. And it depends on what kind of program that works on us. You're talking about taboos and stigmatization. And the question is, actually, it does lead to a lot of mental issues as regards to an individual. But that depends on what such a person considers as being stigmatized by the society where he belongs to. But one thing I would like to put in here is that, you see, whenever an individual felt deprived of justice, the mind becomes imbalanced. And that means the greater the injustice, the greater the imbalances. But also that depends on what an individual considers to be and injustice done to him. So that means if you call me to talk, it's not the issue of me talking for 30 minutes or 1 hour. So you have a problem. I would like to talk about what for 17 years, what I have seen and what I have discovered. And it has taught me a lot of lessons that we still have a lot to do in order to shape and program our country. I have seen several cases, but the one that pains to me most is the number of youths that get into drugs taking. I'll give you an example. 3 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, I was called by the DPO in where I stay that they have a case of a child. He's 22 years old. He's ready to die. 22 years, he's ready to die. And in fact, he was just saved by some people because he already took the knife and is ready to. Then they got him. And at the end, they have to take him to the police. Well, the police did all they could. And at that time, the guy was just praying, let them put me in the cell. Honestly, that guy is ready to die. So they call me. I said, well, I'm no more there anyway. There's nothing I can do. But fortunately or unfortunately, they decided to just send them to bring the child to that place. And luckily enough, I just came back. So they started to, I said, but I told you, I'm no more there. They said, there is an order that we should bring him. I said, then what do we do? Then I look at the other woman, she was crying. Then I said, where is the child? They brought the child. Honestly, I just took him away from all of them. 5 minutes, the job is done. And the next thing, they saw me coming out with the child, laughing. And he said he has no cause to kill himself anymore. One thing, you cannot be what you don't know. And that is why I have a case with the media. I wish the media we have will always portray something that is working. Because how do I understand this is a taboo or this is not a taboo? When the entire system does not provide a conducive atmosphere for me to perceive and understand the right thing. In essence, I will go by the definition of the word education. Education is defined as a process of acquiring knowledge, skills, and information by an individual to be able to solve the problem of the society. So by this definition, it means if you have the biggest degree in the world and yet you are not doing anything to improve the living condition of the society, you are a stark illiterate human being. Am I right? Right? Good. I will go to another word, which to me is misconceived. It's 4-letter word. That word is love. Is it love, or love? I don't know. But L-O-V-E. Because I've seen is one of the words that is always misconceived, and at the end you get into marriage, and at the end of the day it becomes a problem within the husband and the wife. I love you, I love you, I love him. Oh, he loves me. There is more to what you're thinking. But to my own definition, love is nothing but trusting and understanding. Nothing more, nothing less. I have so many cases that I have. I have seen so many females having mental issues because of that word, love. He loves me. He said he's going to marry me. And at the end of the day, it doesn't happen. But let me show you my way of understanding marriage. Love, I love you, he loves me. No. Oh, yeah, it's okay. But let me tell you, the day you have agreed that you have now become husband and wife, it goes away from that. You know what it has become? It has turned to an act of worship. It has turned to an act of what? Worshiping God. And you know what it is if you are worshiping God. That is what marriage is all about. Your wife is not a property to be used. Your husband is not the king. For God said, I created you into different shapes and colors, not to despise one another, but to understand my midst. You are supposed to be a subservient to each other. In Islam, it says, a man is a garment to his wife, and the wife is a garment to her husband. But if you don't really understand each other, there's no need for you to go into marriage. Marriage is about compatibility. If you are comfortable with your husband, immediately he's not there, you feel you are part of you is gone. That is what marriage is all about. And with that, you must be able to endure each other. But when there is no such understanding, please, you are deceiving yourself, you are not married. Know who you want to take as your husband. Know who you want to take as a wife. Because marriage is not meant to be divorced. It's supposed to remain to the end of a life. Because there is trusting and understanding. But when that is not there, then there's a problem. But I would like to advise again that the greatest causes of the issues we have is mostly what is being perpetrated by those that prefer to be known by many but understood by few. And also, we must be able to know the radical evil of our heart. And if we follow the radical evil of our heart, we will never, ever live healthier. I don't know whether you know what I mean by that. That thing in you that always makes you feel that, no, who is this person? Is it because I have done this, then he can do this to me? That is the radical evil of your heart. Get it control. Refuse to be emotional in life. Because there's nothing in this world that is permanent. Allah in the Quran said that the whole world and whatever is in it does not worth the value of a feather of a mosquito before me. But if it does, an unbeliever would never drink water in this world. And here we are today. All we do is sacrificing our life for this world, forgetting that we're in a journey. Patience is the key to success. Taboo, but the question is, how do you manage them? How do you manage stigmatization? How do you manage? I have done that. I am always stigmatized until I die. That is what I'll be facing. Do you know how? With the level and what I have done in this country, I'm still considered as a disabled person. A victim of AIDS is better than me. Because it's only when he mentioned that he has AIDS that you will know. But me, look at me. Always contained in an iron basket. Yet, I have done so much and I'm happy with that. So, I want to advise you. Most of you here possibly were sent to school by their parents, right? Huh? I'm just taking my time to tell you this because you are just graduating, right? You are now coming into the life. Consider yourselves lucky. And in a way, unlucky. You know why I said this? Because you cannot be like me. You will never. The agonies I passed through shape me and make me what I am. That agonies you've never experienced them. A little of it will make you get mental issues. That is why I say unlucky. But you're lucky, they sponsor you, they were there for you, right? I guarantee you nobody was there for me from the beginning till today. Then you have no reason whatsoever to regret and even got to the extent of having mental issues. If somebody like me can make it, what makes you not to? But I want you to understand, it's not what you think. The world you live is not what you think. You cannot always have what you want. Prepare for the real battle. Because when you are prepared, then you have less issues. But if you are not, you are deceiving yourself. There is no limit to your success, except the limit you put on yourself. Am I understood? Well, I said I have achieved so much anyway. He said I will introduce myself. He refused to tell you. Well, I have some accolade that I achieve is not a gift. I work for it. MFR, HAN, FSWA, and the rest. No strays get me down. You know why? My driving force is that adversity makes me strong. Take that to yourself. Do you know what adversity means? Even the loss of your wife and your children is adversity. They shouldn't bring you down. They should make you strong. Determination and confidence makes a man. Once you determine to have a good husband, you're going to have a good husband. If you determine to have a good family, you're going to have a good family. If you determine to have a good children, you're going to have a good children. Determination and confidence makes a person. So determine. I know what the country is all about today. But this is not the forum. I will have given you a lot. But like I said, prepare for the enemy that you don't know. We are under a serious programming, whether we like it or not. Under a serious programming. Because those that I told you prefer to be known by many, but understood by few, they say they must get me and you subliminally. You know what I mean? Without you even realizing. And that is what they're doing. But the last thing I would like to tell you is a word of encouragement. You remember I said it's only those that tend to forget history that are doomed to repeat it. Right? Now the question is, this is a basic problem in Nigeria, it's a basic problem in Africa. We don't know ourselves. Am I understood? I'll just give you a little of it. Supposing a child is born, and all of a sudden the father died. But as that child begins to grow, he begins to understand that the father died as a hero. What do you think that child will be aspiring for? Huh? I didn't get you. To become a hero, right? Or maybe to become more heroic than the father. Right? Do you know what you were before the white people arrived in the African continent? Do you know? Do you? That is why we are like this. But I'll help you quickly. Just one. I have more than 1,000,001, but I'll mention one. Before then, I would like to refer you to Michel Nostradamus, the man they call the man who saw tomorrow. In his quatrain, 99.9% of his prediction has become real, except 1%. And that 1% has to do with all of you. But what did he say? And I quote, He said the highest European I can go in science and technology is Limbo and Mongolia, after which they will have nothing new to introduce to the world, for it was a stolen knowledge. But there is yet a discovery that can only be made at the birth of a continent that will be addressed Niger continent. He said this 800 years ago. Who did they call Niger? Huh? Do you know what Niger means? The death of Floyd explained to you, but nobody maybe see it that way. You know how Floyd died, right? Huh? With a knee on his neck. Right? It's a translation of one of the master plan. It means there is a knee on all African neck until you remove it. Otherwise, you will never cease to see unemployment in your country. Many of us will have no job to do, and many will get involved in atrocities that will affect all of us. So we should try as much as we could to avoid that. But the question is there anything that's worth elating in Africa? I'll refer you to $1 American. Just $1 American. If you look at an American dollar, at the part of it, back of it, you see a pyramid, right? To the tail end of a pyramid, you have one eye. I'm not going to talk about the one eye. I'm just going to talk about the pyramid. If you go to Encyclopedia Britannica and you want to find out about the pyramid, they will tell you the first pyramid ever found on earth was in Africa, right? Now the question is, who built the pyramid? They said the builders of the pyramid come from out of sky, build the pyramid and left, and they never come back. They forgot that there are some certain signs that prove to us that it's the African that's built the pyramid. But what is so important about the pyramid? The potassium test proved that the pyramid has been there for over 2,500,000 years ago. But then Columbus was not born. Neither was Sarah the navigator, who started exploring into African continent. And each block that was used in building the pyramid weighed 400 kilograms. How were they able to lift it that high? Do you know that the architectural design that was used in building the World Trade Center was taken from the building of the pyramid? They talk about knowledge, right? I want to tell you, knowledge is supposed to be a key to the morning and a gate to the evening. And Jesus said, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Do we want to perish? Then knowledge is supposed to be a gate to the morning. And in Islam, Iqra, if you are a Muslim, you know whereas knowledge is supposed to be compulsory for each and every human being. And once you are educated, all these issues will be over. You will not be a victim of any of them. So the solution to all this is knowledge. I'm sorry. I'm not informed that I'm going to talk, but that's the little I can give. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Comrade Bala. Yes, sir. Thank you for honoring us. We just had to hear from you, not just acknowledge you. And thank you for giving us your wisdom. I have something to add to what Comrade Bala said. He mentioned something about compatibility. And I'll leave you with a quote from, before I do that, can we just give Ms. Onazi a round of applause? Thank you very much, Ma, for coming. Okay, so I'll leave you with a quote of mine that says, compatibility is a direct result of cooperation. That means that for you to be compatible, you have to cooperate with each other. So for those of you who are in marriage or who are looking to marry, just like Comrade Bala said, Mrs. Onazi said, and you might hear also from other quarters, there is no such thing as compatibility if you are not cooperating. It's not going to happen. If you want to be compatible, you need to cooperate with each other. And with that, I would defer to Mrs. The Deputy Director, Social Welfare Services, Mrs. Beatrice.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. I'm not going to say so much this afternoon. A lot has been said. I shouldn't go back to all that has been said. But just come to the social welfare angle of all of this. In social welfare, we deal with mostly with persons with disability, care of the elderly, rehabilitation of commercial sex workers, like those who do not want to do the trade again, hospital welfare services, persons of unsound mind, the homeless, destitute, beggars. And talking about the impact of ethnic and religious bias on marriage and mental health. Well, our social work clients, like I mentioned, persons of unsound mind, persons with disability, they face a lot of stigma. Comrade Bala is one of our staff. He's a staff with us. And we thank God for the government that has given there's a percentage of persons with disability that must be employed in every government organization. I think some of the private. It's compulsory. It's a move to reduce some of the stigma, because truly they are stigmatized, and sometimes even in the workplace, some schedules are not given to them because of the disability, which is actually wrong. There's a lot that people can do. Another thing I need to say before we go very far is that let's ensure that we are not the ones stigmatizing others. It's not just us as individuals being stigmatized, so please, let's not stigmatize others. The role of education in our individual lives goes a long way. Like, it would be good if everything we've learned here today, we take it out, because lots of youth corpers are not here today, our family members, our friends. Let's let them know what we have just learned. It will make better people in societies. Now, you're all young. Life is about to start, because once you finish school and the youth service, you're going into the labor market. We may not get jobs on time. Don't let it get to you. In our country today, or let me even say in the world, it will be good to learn, have some kind of skill, so that you have something that you are doing while you're getting the job. A lot of our clients, especially those with unsound mind, you have people, when you begin to counsel with them and listen to them, you find out, oh, I finished school 15 years ago, I've not gotten a job. It's getting to some people. Don't let that get to you. Find something to do. There's always something to do. Nigeria has the market. So once you find yourself doing something, you could be making something from it. Then, like the commercial sex workers, someone talked about a married woman in Bibi, Nigeria, sleeping with someone there. Do you know, we handle cases of commercial sex workers, and there are married women amongst them, and you're wondering, what could lead a woman into doing that? You have married women, you have undergraduates. You know, we used to think it was just people who did not know anything. No. We have even people, workers, that still go into that. And some of those vices, or that particular vice, actually, most times they end up with unsound mind, mental health issues. They have them because of what they are doing. One, it's like a taboo in our culture. It's not something that is allowed, and that's why it's done in secret. It's not like it's in the open. We've talked about We've heard that you should know yourself, know your limits. Something that's going to lead you the wrong direction. Make the effort, you take a detour. You come back, speak to yourself. Tell yourself this thing is wrong. Don't always wait for someone to tell you because you might not even agree. But in our lives, we know, as adults, we know what is right, we know what is wrong. So you talk to yourself. The lady on the show, unfortunately, I'm married, I'm in a show. Know your limits. As a human, whether male or female, you know when you begin to feel emotional, whatever, towards the opposite sex. I think there is a place for you to withdraw and begin to go back home. Except if originally you are not a morally right person, and I'm even wondering why a married woman should apply to be on such a show, because it's not a new thing, it has been going on for years. You know what happens, you know the isolation, you should know your capabilities. So it's good we learn let's know our limits, let's know yourself, and know what to go into and what not to go into. Yes, because this mental health thing, everybody has a role to play. Everybody, you have a role to play. Then love yourself. Love yourself. Don't move around with a low self-esteem. Some persons grew up that way, always being abused or always being looked down on or whatever, for whatever reasons. Don't let that get to you. Build your self-esteem. Read widely. With education, you can't go wrong. Education as in knowing different aspects, not just the course I read in school. Know what you want to do. Don't jump into things. Don't do things for the wrong reasons. Don't copy others. Don't do things because my friend did it, this person did it, or this person got this, they got that. That shouldn't be a yardstick for going into something. But let it be that you've thought about it, you've given your thoughts, and it's a good thing. It's something that's going to help you, it's going to benefit you, it's going to benefit even the society. That way we have less troubles. Comrade Bala has gone, he said something, he turned around and he said he cannot see a disabled person. We have a blind or visually impaired youth corper in our office. We have lawyers, we have trained people. I'm sure in your school you had persons with disability that schooled with you. They broke the limits, broke the taboo. Some their disabilities started from childhood, and I'm sure it wasn't so easy, but they could come that far, which is good. It's what we encourage. We do more of psychosocial counseling. We let people know that you can achieve what you want to achieve. It is doable, being male or female. And truly, a lot of taboos are being broken these days. We're getting better. Well, society is evolving. There's no stopping. Don't get laid back. Don't stop yourself. Make progress. And then sometimes we see people doing wrong vices, or I've seen someone with unsound mind. Rather than pulling away and hiding, there are referral systems. You could relay the issue. Oh, I saw so-so person in so-so place. There are government offices or institutions where you could report that. There are people there to handle it. Let's not leave people in that low state. A lot of people need that help, and we could come in handy wherever we see them. Then decisions we make could lead into depression and all whatnot. Let's be careful, because when in the course of our work, a lot of people who are depressed are actually people who had gone to school, people who are educated. And especially for the women, you find mostly it's relationship related. And I'm wondering, so where is this guy? The guy has moved on, and the woman is depressed. It's in some institution, battling with coming back to reality. Ladies, we don't need to lose our minds because the guy says he's not doing again. There's a better guy out there. There's a better guy. Let's work on our emotions. Don't let your emotions rule you. You be above your emotions. He's not doing again. It might not be his fault. Unfortunately, he found someone else that he probably likes. It's not the end of the road. But when you begin to see it as the end of the road, you could get into problems. It's not the end. There's someone else that would like you. Lots of someone else that would like you. So don't let that keep you down. Then, what else? Like I said earlier, please, let's ensure we're not stigmatizing others. Let's see everyone like us, that they can do better. Let's encourage one another, and let's stay encouraged. I think that's the little I have to add to so much that has been said. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Beatrice. Any questions for Mrs. Beatrice? Do we have any questions? Okay. With that, I think we'll need to just come to a close. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And I hope you learned a lot today. Have a great...